Hello and welcome to another episode of The Americano Show. I am delighted to be joined today by Alex Castellanos, who is a political strategist, godfather of the Attack Ad, and also co-founder of Purple Strategies, which is a consultancy. And Alex is, last time we had Alex on the show, he was here in London on June the 9th. Now he's he's in Washington, D.C., I should say. And Alex, since June the 9th, quite a lot has happened in American politics. We had the debate. We had the fallout from the debate, which was extraordinary. We then had, and I'm missing out quite a few big things here too, we then had the shooting of Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. And then, of course, the most recent story, Joe Biden withdrawing from the race and Kamala Harris becoming the presumptive Democratic nominee and seemingly unstoppable. There's a lot of excitement about Kamala Harris at this moment. It's obviously been a very tumultuous time in American politics and emotions are running high. You have written a very interesting thread on Twitter or X, in which you say Donald Trump has never been closer, forgive me if I'm misquoting you, never been closer to losing than at this moment.
I think that's true. And I was very careful with my choice of words. At this moment. The question now is how long this moment will obtain. Kamala Harris, as a friend described the situation to me this way, that the Democratic Party was caught in a rainstorm and Kamala Harris drove by and said, "Get into my dry car." It's not about who she is. It's about who not only Joe Biden is not, but who Donald Trump is not. I mean, you ask Americans for the past year, are you satisfied with these two candidates? 70% said no. Now there's a somewhat fresher face. So I did expect a lot of these, I can't vote for Trump, but I can't really go with Joe Biden voters to come back up and to make this a tight race. And she is enjoying a hell of a honeymoon. So yes, I think we could all have expected her to get a ride. She's getting one. There are even some polls saying she's ahead a point or two. However, she's got a problem. She is to be competitive in this race, all she has to do is just not be Donald Trump, right? Because the race is still about Donald Trump. You're either with him or against him. But to win this race, she has to be something she's not. She has to moderate. She has to move to the center. She can't be the San Francisco leftist liberal who bailed out the arsonist and criminals who destroyed American cities during the Black Lives protests. She can't be the anti-police liberal. She can't be the senator who's voted to the left of Bernie Sanders. I mean, she makes Jeremy Corbyn look moderate here. So she has to not only be something she's not, as far as her agenda, she has to be a better candidate and person than she's ever been. And she has the misfortune of living and campaigning in a new world.
Yes.
The internet, where her journey lives forever. We have seen her. So she's going to enjoy a honeymoon, but you can't remain aroused forever, no matter how wonderful the honeymoon.
Well, I think she certainly is a large presence on the internet, particularly at the moment. But it doesn't all work against her. I mean, I think that people can exaggerate the importance of TikTok, but it is a very large medium now. and the algorithms appear to be training themselves to, or perhaps being trained, if you're a conspiracy theorist, to like Kamala Harris a lot. There's the K Hive, which is modeled from Beyonce's Beehive, which is very behind her now. And I would say that's obviously a help for Harris, but it also might hinder her in her attempts to appeal to broader America, because she is quite capable, I think, of believing the hype around herself, of existing in a complete bubble of Kamala mania, and not seeing that the rest of America just doesn't get it or like it.
Well, she's in, I would say let her enjoy her ride right now. This is as good as her campaign is ever going to get. From here forward, it'll get more challenging because unfortunately reality will intercede. And she not only has to be something she's not and embrace policies she's previously rejected, she has to kill the old Kamala. She has to explain what has happened, that she did those things, but now she's moving toward the center. And she didn't do it a year ago when it wasn't politically convenient. She's doing it now when coincidentally it seems to help her, give her a political boost. Now she does have a decision coming up. She's going to pick a VP. And if she picks a moderate military guy, if she picks someone closer to the center, if she picks she needs a good dose of toxic masculinity on the ticket with her. If she does that, that will help. But, you know, there is video out there of her saying that it shouldn't be a crime to come to the United States illegally across the border.
Let me just be very clear. We have to have a secure border, but I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented across the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
There is video out there of her saying that she is basically anti-police.
It is outdated and is actually wrong and backward to think that more police officers will create more safety.
There is video out there of her that, again, bailing out people who commit crimes and set cities on fire. So it's an inconvenient time to try to reinvent yourself when your entire life's journey is out there. You know, there's a third force. It is, what's Donald Trump going to do to her? That's one issue. What's the media going to do for her? The mainstream media is going to embrace her and give her a tremendous boost. But now there's this third force in campaigns. It is TikTok. It is that. And once people begin laughing at you a little bit and see if you are inauthentic, it's going to be tough.
You mentioned there, Alex, how Trump responds to her, how Trump attacks her and so on. I think there's a bit of fear in Republican circles that Trump's sort of natural hostility, often directed towards women, will play badly with women voters, and that's good news for Kamala Harris. Certainly, since Biden has pulled out of the race, the kind of almost Gandhi-like Donald Trump we saw at the convention, this man of peace, post-shooting, seems to have vanished. And he's gone back, certainly on social media in particular, he's gone back to the very aggressive lying Kamala, he's calling her, and so on. Is that bad news for Trump, that he does seem to be unable to contain his contempt for Harris?
It limits his abilities. You know, he has for the first time cracked 50% in surveys in some of these swing states, and even nationally for the first time, his numbers, which were just immovable, he had a ceiling above him because, yes, that aggressive, that reckless Trump, valued for his strength, but also it made people wonder if Donald Trump's strength is dangerous. That Donald Trump has a ceiling. He's just a bridge a lot of voters can't cross. But for a little bit at the convention, because we saw the granddad, we saw the family guy, we saw a guy who had friends, he was humanized, and the assassination attempt and how he responded. He was genuinely grateful to be alive, grateful that a God protected him, and we saw a different dimension to him. But he's Trump. He's going to go back to being who he is. There is no other Trump. We've waited years. Can he be more presidential? Can he? He is who he is. So he's always running not just against his opponent. He's running against himself. And I don't know that Kamala can beat Trump, but Trump can beat Trump.
Yeah.
So if Kamala just runs a I'm not Trump race, it'll be close. If she can run a race, again, being something she's not, which is a serious person, she's not demonstrated that she is serious enough to be a president or a prime minister. I've said that, when you look at presidents and prime ministers, women who've done that job, you see Margaret Thatcher, you see Golda Meir, you see Meloni in Italy. These are strong women. And the reason they're strong women is because we know you need a tough, strong person to do a tough job.
Mm.
And those are the women who succeed. Kamala Harris is not that woman. Margaret Thatcher didn't giggle. Margaret Thatcher didn't cackle. She was substantive and serious. Kamala has not passed that test yet. Now she's better. She's working with a teleprompter. She's borrowed Joe's teleprompter. And that teleprompter, I say cut out the middleman and run the teleprompter, because that thing's getting a lot of work. As long as she sticks to that, she's a better performer. But that's a test for her now. We have to see a different Kamala. And then the policy. Can she moderate? I will say this about Trump, to your point. J.D. Vance said something a while back that is now resurfacing on social media. He said that a lot of the people who work for the deep state, the government, are single cat ladies with no children. And how can they envision the future and lead us there if they don't see one for themselves in that sense? It's not playing well. And that's that Trump you were talking about. That's that Donald Trump that makes it more difficult to make this a race about, look, things were better 4 years ago when Donald Trump was president than they have been for the past 4 years under Joe and Kamala.
Teleprompter 2024 as a campaign, I love it. Say what you see is the slogan. Talking about J.D. Vance, actually, was what I was about to ask you about, which is that there's some chatter that Harris actually makes Vance a less good pick. I think there are good arguments. There are some arguments for that. There may be better arguments against that point. I wonder where you fall down on it. What you just said suggests that you think maybe Vance isn't looking like a great pick at the moment. He's
new. This is Major League Football. This is world-class sport, and you don't know how to do this until you've done it. So he's going to have a stumble or two. But when Bill Clinton ran for president, he didn't pick somebody to help him from a certain state or region. He doubled down on new, moderate, Southerner with a vision of the future. He picked someone much like himself, because elections now don't just take place in state, they take place on screens and narratives. And what Trump did was similar. He doubled down on populism. He doubled down on his message. The people against the powerful and the establishment in Washington. And at the end of the day, that's the big realignment we're seeing in American politics. The old Reagan era is over. The party of Wall Street and country club elite Republicans, that's gone. This is the era now of a Republican Party that had a union leader speaking at the convention, that is appealing to blue collar union workers, that had a black entrepreneur, a woman, Amber Rose, give a hell of a speech at the convention, that had Hispanics all over this convention. And the Republicans are making inroads with all of those because they share the same adversary, the establishment in Washington that says, sit down, little people, trickle down government will let you have a little bit of our bounty. And so, but what we're losing some single women, we're losing college educated married women in the suburbs, and we're losing the Wall Street money donor class. We're getting the entrepreneurial billionaires, the Musks and the new gen of entrepreneur, but we're losing the old. They're going to the Democrats. So we're seeing the Republican Party that was a conservative party of Reagan become a populist party with conservative tinges. And I think that's what Vance is. Now he gives that a future. Now it's not the party of a man. Now it's a party with a movement.
You talked there about Republicans sort of coming together in hatred, or the new Republican Party coming together in hatred of the elite, or the oligarchy, as they seem to like calling it now. Is that a problem for Trump, in that the oligarchy as a concept, Donald Trump Jr. is talking about it a bit now, is quite hard to kind of break down instantly? Whereas the Democrats have a unifying hate figure, and that's Donald J. Trump. So it's a bit of a simpler message for them in many ways.
Yeah, but I think that's true, and it's certainly Trump hatred is intense. He is easy for about half of America to love and half of America to despise. But the establishment their failures have unified. They are the Trump movement, have unified a lot of Republicans and swing voters and working class people who feel disenfranchised and disrespected, who see the country working for others, but not for them. So, and you're seeing it in the cultural issues. Why are people coming here illegally and getting benefits immediately, money and health care and education, when I have to pay for all those things? Not only for me, for them. Why are my streets less safe? And why are the people I trusted to keep our streets safe betraying us? So there's a visceral movement here predicated on the failure of our betters, the people we trusted to respect us and appreciate us, and just now and then protect us a little bit, are only taking care of themselves. It's very powerful. I'd say right now, Kamala's enjoying her ride, but that movement at the end of the day, those people don't judge the last 4 years as success. They want to change.
Well, I want to get back to the Kamala's VP pick, which we don't know at time of broadcast. First of all, how quickly do you think she should choose the VP? Should it be...
about 10 minutes from now? She needs to, she can't do it soon enough, because right now this campaign's hinging on one thing. Who's Kamala, and who's going to define her, and who's going to be the first to define Kamala? That's the only thing that's left. We know who Trump is. Who is she? She's soft, right? She's been around a while, but we haven't really seen her at this level. So she Is she going to define herself as her campaign? Or are the Republicans and social media going to do it? So her pick for VP is critical in that she can't wait till the convention late in August to do it. She has to do it now. There's talk she'll do it this week. And I think that would be smart. I think the front runner is a senator from Arizona here, a guy named Mark Kelly, who was an astronaut, who served in the military, who flew planes, whose wife, Gabby Giffords, was shot and was a congresswoman who was shot and is an advocate and part of the cause for gun control. If she picks him, she not only says, I'm moving to the middle, she also says, I'm not just about abortion, a one-issue candidate. Gun control is another issue. So, but she needs someone like that. And that's what I think we'll see in the next week.
Well, she won't pick a mini-me in the manner of Bill Clinton that you were describing, or perhaps in the manner of J.D. Vance, because that would be electoral suicide. But it does seem as though all of her choices are white governors in swing states, all of her most likely choices, we should say. We don't know. There was some talk of Gavin Newsom, but I think that's probably unrealistic, is it not?
I think so. Yeah, her choices are, I think as we were saying, she needs a little dose. Look, she's a Black woman running for president. Yay, a first. But is that all she is? If she doubles down on what she is, if she picks another woman, if she picks Wes Moore, a Black governor of Maryland, then she's saying, yes, that's all I am. Barack Obama didn't run that way. Barack Obama didn't run as for president of Black America. He ran for president of all America. That's Kamala's challenge. She's got to demonstrate she's running for president for every American. So yes, she has to, I think, broaden the ticket. And since she's so new, her choice here is more important than the usual choice of a VP. This is new, this is late. So ordinarily a vice president, you just, God, I hope it doesn't hurt me. And you get away with a VP choice, right? But now this actually is, since she is undefined to a great degree, this will define her. It's one of her bigger decisions. So I don't think picking somebody like the governor of the state of Pennsylvania because he brings that state in. She doesn't need to win one state. She needs to win a lot of states. So she needs more of a message, a choice that gives her the right persona and that says she'll be a moderate in leading the country. She needs that more than she needs a tactical state strategy.
To what extent do you think a candidate can get away with having a vice president who has said things on the record that are diametrically opposed to what the leading candidate says?
It's a good question. And I think as part of the answer is what agenda is she going to put on the table? She has to say, look, we've done a lot of things I'm proud of with over the past 4 years, Joe Biden and I. We've rebuilt NATO. Crime is down. We've gotten a lot of jobs back in America, but the world's changing every day and we need a new direction. We need to head off. I have a vision. I see the future. Follow me. We're going to go over here. And with that, she can say, it's a different direction. And she can bring in people from all over the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. So if she has a different vision that says, and an explanation for her transformation, then I think she can rationalize picking somebody like that who yes, is going to have to be a lot different than the Kamala Harris who has been left of Jeremy Corbyn for her entire political career. The Trump people are already defining her. They came out with their first TV spot yesterday, and she's dangerously liberal. The message is she is more incompetent than Joe Biden, and she is much more to the left, especially on cultural woke issues.
I think that Harris has proved in her career that she can adopt whatever position is helpful to her. She certainly did as a district attorney and as an attorney general.
She is ethically unencumbered.
Yeah, quite unburdened by ethics as well as the past. But I suppose my question is, can the Democratic Party pivot so easily? Because so much of their vision, that you talked about, sort of presenting a vision of the future, so much of their vision of the future now revolves around identity politics. And that does leave an enormous number of voters, particularly in those swing states and the Rust Belt and so on. And in those states, voters do not respond well to that kind of politics. And yet this is what the democratic machine represents. It's what it's gunning for. And it's what, I would put it to you, it will even pursue even at the point of self-destruction.
The Democrats are fortunate that they have a unifying force that will keep them together regardless of how far to the right Kamala needs to move. And that's Donald Trump. Yeah. Their fear of bad orange man will allow them to do almost anything. And I think that will allow Kamala Harris to do even the right thing if it helps her get elected. So I think they'll give her a tremendous amount of room. Bill Clinton ran and won as an pro-welfare reform, pro-death penalty Democrat, and got through the Democratic primaries with that when people thought, gee, that's too much. And James Carville, when asked, how did you do that? He said, we were tired of losing. Yeah. And I think that's where the Democrats are now. They are so afraid of losing to Donald Trump that they'll let Kamala, if she puts on a Donald Trump bumper sticker on her car, they'll probably let her get away with
it. Do you think we've got just a matter of less than a month now until the convention in Chicago? It's being called a coronation already. Do you anticipate the honeymoon period lasting? I'm sorry to make you do a prediction. I realize it's difficult. This honeymoon period that people are talking about, do you anticipate that lasting up until the convention? Or do you think by the time of the convention, we may already see some cracks emerging in this very hastily assembled Kamala coalition?
I think the cracks will start appearing soon. She has a tremendous amount of support from the dominant media and from the Hillary Clinton establishment. There are a lot of women in and around the political process who are determined that what they believe happened to Hillary, that she was defeated by a misogynist campaign, not to let that happen to her. So Kamala is going to have billions of dollars worth of free campaign advertising from the dominant media to support her, and the antipathy for Trump is not going to relent. So yes, she's going to have a lot of support to keep her kind of elevating there, her feet not touching the ground. But occasionally truth wins out, even in politics. And her record and her lack of seriousness, her persona and her policy, she is not a serious, strong leader. And that's out there. It's too late to put that toothpaste back in the tube. And her radical San Francisco type, that's San Francisco is the hotbed here of liberalism from the protest of the 60s till today. So she comes from that. There's a narrative there that ties all of this together. So I think you'll start seeing the cracks, and there will be things. I think she could implode. I think she could implode. It'll be hard to do that entirely by the convention, but Kamala's best moment is right now. If she had never run, she could have won. But now the process, the bleeding is already starting.
Something you pointed out on X, which I thought was very interesting, was the way she's talking and the way the rest of the party are talking about Joe Biden now cannot last. Because, they're talking about him as though he's the greatest president since Lincoln, that he, that Kamala Harris said he did more in one term than almost all presidents have done in two. That cannot endure, as you point out, because she will have to start blaming things at some stage on Biden. And she may not do it directly, but she will have to insinuate that she's inherited this mess, right? Because a lot of Americans do think that the country's in a mess.
They think it's going to be Joe Biden's job to take out the garbage, to back up the truck and haul the past away. And so I think they're going to discard him like that. She has to be a candidate of change, right? One of the things she's got going for is she is generational change. When people in both parties are tired of, 80-year-old guys who are fighting over a ham sandwich all the time, it's exhausting. So she has to be the candidate of change. But to do that, as you've just said, change from what? Well, it's got to be change begins at home. Change begins from Joe Biden. I see America as it is. I see the new challenges ahead. We're going to head in a different direction. So I think poor Joe is going to be put out to pasture with a little less respect than he's getting now. He'll get one good night at the convention. They'll keep thanking him for his many accomplishments and all his legislative success, which is a weird message because they're selling legislative success, but not actual success, right? He passed a lot of laws, but the world's a tinderbox. Everyone's at war. The economy, inflation is killing us. Our borders are open. Crime women can't go for a jog. So it makes you think, well, gee, the more legislative accomplishments these people have, the worse things are getting. Somebody stop them.
Well, not so long ago, they tended to be Republican leaning, but they weren't all ridiculous. Analysts were suggesting, especially after the shooting in Pennsylvania, were suggesting we could be looking at a Trump landslide, and that states like Virginia and Minnesota suddenly might come into play for Trump. Do you think that the switch on the Democratic ticket stops that talk in its tracks?
I think it stops it for now, but I think we will soon be back where we were. The coalition for Kamala is a little different. She will energize some young people that the Democrats, they weren't thrilled with Joe Biden. She might energize some black voters where Biden was bleeding. But working class voters in Midwestern states and, in Michigan, in Wisconsin, blue collar workers in Pennsylvania, she is way too far to the left for them, anti-police, open borders. She's proposed eliminating ICE, which is the agency here that supposed to enforce protecting the border, not cutting their money, eliminating them. So she is culturally way out of touch with the working class populist blue collar voter. And that's going to make a lot of those states more difficult. I think this could be, and Newt Gingrich has said this, that this could be very much like the McGovern-Nixon race. Who liked Nixon? Nah, not a lot of people. But McGovern, that's just out there. And Kamala, in truth, is that person. You know, she's been a woman of the left all her life. And I think that's the message the Trump campaign is going to put out there with a giggle.
Yes. Well, on that giggle, I think we will wrap it up there. But Alex Castellanos, thank you so much for coming on to Americano. It's a great privilege to hear your insights. And I do hope we can get you on again.